Die Signature Collection bei McDonald's als Guacamole, Barbecue und Classic mit extra dickem Beef aus Deutschland. Jetzt in bereits über 600 Restaurants. Ich liebe es.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this Blog Talk Radio program about your Kundalini awakening experiences and activities that have been driven by the Kundalini. I'd like to welcome everybody who is listening on their smartphone or on their laptop or on their tower desktop computer. I'd like to welcome everybody in the chat room as well as everybody who's calling in. As far as the chat room goes, I would like to ask people in the chat room if they can hear the sound okay. Right now I'm outside in the car with my dear friend Lasha, the Kundalini cat, and we're a little distance off from the Wi-Fi signal, so I want to make sure that people are hearing me clearly. So if you could write in and let me know if that is indeed the case, we will continue. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my co-host right now, the person who does and continues and has given a huge amount of kindness, caring, compassion, knowledge, and information, and personal sharings about her Kundalini awakening experiences. And I'd like to introduce Amelia Santara right now. Hi, Amelia.
Hi, Chrism. Your sound is really good here, and on the chat room, Magic Art says yes, it's good. So.
Excellent. I didn't see that, so I appreciate you bringing me up on that. So I do believe that we have some announcements to make. We have at least two that I know of.
Okay, so, well, the first announcement that I would like to make, Chrism, is about donations. I didn't make it last week, and I'm going to give two websites people can go to. The first one is a blog spot. It's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. And then the other one is kundalinisafeties.com. And there you will find donate buttons, and it's very easy to donate. Hit the button and follow the instructions. And I would like to remind people that any donation, however great or however small, is most welcome. Small donations, add up, and they're very important. So please, sometimes people feel, that's not enough. I can't really make a donation. Yes, you can, and please do. If you're in a position to do that and it's a small donation, that is so very welcome and is so very helpful. The other announcement, Chrism, that I have would be about the seminar next September. Do you want me to speak about that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so there's a few things coming up, and Rosemary can speak about the ones that are coming up in Minnesota, but I'd like to tell you about Europe. There's a seminar planned by Manisha. She's the hostess, and she is planning this for the 14th and 15th and 16th it's the 15th, 16th, and 17th of September. And you can contact Manisha on Facebook. And you can also, there's a Facebook group called Kundalini Seminars and Events with Chrism. And there you will find all the details of that seminar and how to contact Manisha.
Can you give Manisha's contact information?
I cannot do that this very moment, Chrism, but I will do it later if that's okay.
Manisha is that it's the 15th and 16th and 17th, and she's in the chat room. Manisha, if you can write your contact information, that would be helpful. Go ahead, Santara.
And Manisha says we already have participants that are paying their deposit, and that's very welcome at this point because Manisha is organising a flight to get Chrism to Europe, and so early participants and deposits are very helpful towards that, so we can get the best value possible. There will be people coming there who attended last year, and you're very welcome no matter what part of Europe you're in. And there are some really cheap flights that you can get from the UK, from Ireland, from any of the, the other countries in Europe. And of course, if you're outside of Europe, you're also most welcome. There's great train services and bus services to Madrid. And here is Manisha's email address. It's
LENOEGER. No.
ERG.
It is LENE.
Let you do it.
LENENOERGAARD at Posteo, which is spelled POSTEO.de. So once again, it's a real short one. It's LENENOERGAARD at Posteo, POSTEO.de.
Great, yes. So I'd encourage everybody to consider coming the 15th, 16th, and 17th of September. So you have plenty of notice and plenty of time to get organised and make whatever plans you can for that. So there are the announcements from me, Chrism.
We also have a seminar coming up in Minnesota, and I believe that's on the go there real quick here. I've got this different laptop, so it's hard for me to find my dates. Let me go to the iPhone here.
Do you want to go over to
hang on a second. Just a second, please.
Okay.
And this is in Minnesota, and it would be on the 21st and 22nd of October. And you can contact Rosemary Goliath, and I'm going to bring Rosemary on, and she can give you her contact information. And here she is. Hello, Rosemary.
Yes, thank you, Chrism. It's 28 and 29.
My bad. So yes, go ahead and make the whole announcement, would you, Rosemary?
Yes, please. Thank you. It is October 28th and 29th. We are already doing some of the work that we can do early. It's a little early, but for people to know likewise, even if you're not traveling out of the country, even within a country, to be planning. And it will be in Mankato. We're, again, working on a place for that. My information is rosemaryg@usinternet.com, or locally or from anywhere. Phone number is 651-329-9615. And we're three of us, Joey Frost and Katie Galerno. The three of us are working together, and it's just a joy just to have partnership and to have others working together. It's amazing, and we're blessed, and we're grateful.
Well, thank you.
So thank you,
Thank
Chrism.
you for that announcement. And indeed, it is a blessing for people to be able to assist you and to assist themselves as they assist you. So once again, thank you very much, Rosemary. And coming back to my co-host, let's see, did we cover all the announcements, my dear?
Yes, Chrism, I think so.
Well, I have one more announcement that was kind of just put out on the Kundalini Awakening exclamation group. Cole is putting together a team of individuals to begin to collect the Kundalini information on the Kundalini Awakening exclamation group. So this would be, going back to the beginning of the group and beginning to collect the pertinent Kundalini information. So if anybody would like to join in that endeavor, you can contact Cole Dixon on the Facebook, and he's right there under the post with a big blue head with lots of activity going on inside that head. It's a fairly strong picture, so you'll see it, and you can also see it on my page, the Chris Mitchell page on Facebook, and so please feel free to participate in that team effort, and we'll make sure that the information isn't lost and that it is given into book format, into as many other formats as we can put it into, in order to preserve and promote those levels of truth about the Kundalini awakening. All right, well, here we go. Kundalini can be very, very hard on a person's social life. And I don't mean just a social life, with your lover or a, romantic interests or things of that nature. It can be very hard on your life within the reality that you're existing in. And just an aside here, I'm out in the car, and Lasha Cat is sitting right up there on the dash, laying down, very comfortable. Love to give you a picture of her right now. She's so cute. But I have the windows down, and I'm outside, and so you may have some street sound that comes through every now and again. So I just wanted to warn you, maybe some sirens as they come to arrest me, or a helicopter as they come to, for being Kundalini awakened in public. Anyway, so it can be very hard on a person's individual perspective and reality. And as your reality shatters, and you experience the many different experiences that a person can have with a shattered reality, the confusion, the fear, the feeling like you don't belong here, the loneliness, the loss of your job, the loss of your lifestyle, the loss of your relationships, if that occurs. It's different for everybody, and not everything that I'm saying is going to be experienced by everyone. And I want that to be made very, very clear, because people have different levels of understanding when it comes to having the reality shattered. One person's reality is not the next. We might all agree that the grass is green, but what shade of green do we all agree to it? I just had my eyes dilated today at the ophthalmologist, and doing the visual thing, and with the eyes dilated, everything takes on different hues, and it made me think, people can still see green, they can still call it green, but it's not necessarily the same shade of green for everybody. But it does fall within to general standard, of spectrum appreciation within the color spectrum. And right now I'm doing a little research if an enlarged optic nerve is due to Kundalini awakening or activation. So, not that I have one, but she said, 99.9% I don't, but she wants a machine. She doesn't trust herself. She wants a machine to measure it. And hey, I'll see if I can arrange that to happen. But as your reality fractures and it begins to scar the five sense personality. It unless you understand what is happening, it can really begin to put a person into some very, very dire straits with regards to how they feel about themselves. And as I wrote in one of the groups today and on my page, just because your life is banged up a little doesn't mean that you're to throw it away. Karma happens, difficulty happens. You've got to keep going, because believe me, the brilliance of the view after you come out of some of these difficulties is beyond the words to articulate. It is so beautiful. It is so loving. It is so amazing. It is so intricate, and it is so all-encompassing that it's beyond the ken or the understanding of the five sense limited consciousness. So you don't want to prejudge the Kundalini just because it's changing the way you look at yourself. Here's the thing: being semi-divine means that you're actually being semi-divine. It means no longer do you have your reality based in the five sense limitation. Now, clearly, half of your reality is going into an infinity of possibility, an infinity of application, an infinity of understanding, an infinity of suggested comprehension, an infinity of mindfulness, an infinity of love. Just think about that part, an infinity of love. How does that manifest in your life, this infinity of love? Well, let me tell you, in my experience of infinite love, it's love for everything. There is no boundary. It is, you're not saying, well, that plant there is a weed. I don't love it. I don't love it at all. It's not supposed to be there in my garden, so it doesn't get my love. You love everything. All life, all creation, whether it belongs in your garden or not, is loved. And it's loved, it's like you're in love with it, passionate, appreciative, considerate, kind, empathic. The love goes beyond the restrictions of what society puts on it, but what also your expectation, your mental mind programming, which has formed your expectation. It goes beyond that as well. And as you come into these levels of semi-divinity, and you begin to experience these amazing levels of infinite love, the idea and the experience of infinite love will begin to clash with what your preconceived ideas of love was before the Kundalini expanded you beyond the five sense modalities, beyond the five sense expression. And as this clash occurs, you can be thrown into strong levels of misunderstanding, of confusion. And as you're thrown into these levels of confusion, it can be a very, very, very challenging time. And you may just want to just cash in your chips. You just may say, oh, forget this. I don't understand anything anymore. I used to have a fairly clear understanding about what life was all about, but now I don't have a clue. Well, just accept that. When you're 5 years old and you're in kindergarten, you don't have a clue what school is all about, unless you went to nursery school. You know, they got the paper on the board, and you got the finger paints. Well, until you see somebody finger painting, you don't really know what those paints and what that paper's for. You don't know, but you're eager to learn. I'm going to suggest that you do as Jesus Christ in the Christian religion suggested that you do. Come as a child. Come with the innocence of a child and the curiosity of a child. Don't feel that you can just cash in all your chips because you don't understand something. And it may be a big something. It may be many somethings. But you don't just destroy a life or, end a life because your idea of reality is getting banged up a little bit. When you come into the divine, the semi-divinity, the expectations and understandings of the earthbound five sense consciousness is going to clash a lot. The divine understandings of infinite awareness. I mean, come on, this makes sense, right? Let me get a billion on here. This makes sense, right? Can I hear an amen?
Amen. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it can be very, very, very difficult for people to not clash in these ways. If you're not clashing, something is really, really very right or very, very wrong.
That's perfect.
So thank you for the amen. I appreciate that. So it can be very, very different now. Now we have someone on the chat room here, and this is person 69175, and they say, "Hey, Chrism, my reality didn't fracture. at least not since the initial, oh my God, what the heck is happening. It seems to be slowly dissolving in a really weird way. I feel disconnected from everyone, but it's really mild. And I got an amen from Manisha and Michelle. Thank you both. And 69175 continues. I can engage with people, but I don't really much give a darn, because they're using the FU word. I don't really give a darn for the things that occupy most people. Kundalini makes it hard to relate to people who don't know, And I say, yeah, I do know. I do know about that. And it doesn't have to come crashing down over your shoulders immediately. It can be slow and gradual. Matter of fact, it's typically slow and gradual, but sometimes it can also happen in an instant where you're just slammed with the new reality, and you just have to kind of flounder around for a little bit and find your bearings, and begin to open your infinite awareness aspect that is developing within you and collate data from an infinite standpoint. And I know that people listening to this in the archives, hello everybody in the archives, people listening to this, sometime on their phone or on their computer right now, they're kind of going, well, what is this infinite awareness? I mean, how do I know that I'm thinking from an infinite awareness standpoint? Well, because there are no limitations. It's always open-ended. It's always expanding. It's always bringing itself. It's like a fractal. You know the fractal, those computer fractal art where the fractal will expand and it will change form, but it's still the same energy. It's just changing form. Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about from a visual nature. There's a program that you can use as a screensaver. I believe it's called, what is it? Sheep, something about sheep. Counting Sheep, I believe is what it's called. And it's all about fractal art that they use as a screensaver on your computer. I use it myself. It's very beautiful. But this is what I'm talking about. It's an ever modulating, ever expanding level of acceptance and love and attention and consciousness. And it reaches in and it reaches out and it's up, down, all around you. And it's ever expanding. And yet, even as it does all these things, you still have a physical body. You can still reach for that glass of water, drink it down just like you always have. That's the physical part of you. But the interaction between the divine part and the physical part can really be a lot to handle at first, because it's so vastly different. Let's see. And 69175, he or she says, amen. And they continue, I got hammered for a while, and then it all just stopped. I feel like I got Kundalini light. Now it's a slow turn, or now it's a slow burn, like the witch from Oz, melting. Okay, all right, well, okay. It may not be that way for everybody, but that is a healthy way to have it. The Kundalini will often just take it by stages with an individual, where they'll experience the phenomena. It'll be robust, and then as the person acclimates, it will feel as if the Kundalini is backing down. But when in much of the cases, it's the acclimation and the familiarity and the reference point that makes it feel like it's slowing down. And as you become more aware and more acclimated to what the Kundalini is bringing to you, you can handle it more, and you can organize your reality around it more. Kundalini is not the easiest thing. So many people, will commit suicide because their reality is fractured so much so that they are not able to stretch into the new awareness, and as they lock themselves away in the 5 sense corrupted reality they get into this really strong depressive spiral, and then of course discarnate entities can hook onto that and can drive them crazy. I've got a lot of people who, I don't know if it's a lot. It's actually a small percentage of all the people that I've worked with. Quite a small percentage, I'd say maybe 1% of the people that I've worked with that have refused the teachings and have cashed in their conscious awareness for an entity-controlled awareness, a corrupted awareness. And you'll see some of these people, they turn themselves into a teacher and they say, yes, I'm channeling the ascended masters from the planet Hebron, and they have decided that we need all that, all the malarkey, or all the stuff that the entities are saying, and pushing through the mouth of that person that no longer has control over their brain or their life or their thoughts or their feelings or their actions. And, that happens, that does happen sometimes, and I do counsel people away from that. But, I can't make choices for others. So as you begin, as you come up to this point of definition between the physical limited and the Kundalini infinite, begin to open your flexibility. Begin to open your trust. Trust is the key to your flexibility. You've got to trust in the Kundalini, implicitly, in order to understand that love encompasses everything. There is no element or atom or molecule or nanoparticle that is not known and loved and understood by the divine grace of Kundalini. It is all understood. And therefore, as it comes into you, you have the opportunity to expand yourself beyond what you ever would have been able to imagine. You have the ability to expand your love and your appreciation and your conscious, cognizant awareness into the multiple dimensions of creation that are opening up to you like a fractal flower within the Kundalini infinite awareness as you drive your car, as you get the kids ready for school, as you open that can of free-range, organic, breastfed tomato soup. As you do all these things, all these mundane things that we do as spirits in a body, experiencing the flesh, we are in the process of the metamorphosis of the flesh made divine. I know I've said this many different ways in the many different shows that we have done since 12/12/2012. And I want to thank Amelia Santara for initiating this program and supporting this program and allowing this program to exist for the benefit of you, my dear listener, of you. She has done this for you, and Kundalini is doing this for you. And we're going to download all of these shows too. I want to archive every single show so that no matter what occurs, people will have the availability of getting this information. So as you come up to that line of physical limitation versus Kundalini infinity, slowly stick a foot through that veil, or stick an arm through that veil, and just begin to experience unlimited divine consciousness. Begin to allow yourself to expand into these areas. Do it consciously. Do it consciously. Reach into it. The conscious movement is a much more powerful movement than sitting back and letting it happen to you. When you actively engage the Kundalini consciousness, she will actively engage you, and it becomes more of a partnership. And within that partnership, the teachings and the reference points and the acclamation and all of the positive features of a work in common, of a work in communion with itself, come to the fore and allow the person to really begin to appreciate what is happening, rather than, roll around in a ball of fear because they're not familiar with what is occurring, and therefore, because it's strange and it's unknown, they must have a great level of fear with it. Well, no, you don't have to go that route. You do not have to go that route. If you're listening to these words right now, you do not have to go that route. Okay. And Manisha writes, she says, going all the way back up here. Manisha says, going all the way back up here. Let's see, regulated me. Boy. Okay, and then coming down from there. Okay, please don't write anymore, Manisha. I've got to find your spot here. Okay. People write a lot. Here we are. Manisha writes, Shakti is known to increase and reduce a person's sexuality, like an ebb and flood. She writes flood, but I think she means flow. And English is her second language. And that is what I have been thinking has happened to me for a very long time. I've had a very, very low libido and have thought that Shakti regulated me. Yesterday, I had a session with a woman of my confidence. I'm not quite sure what she means by that. She is a clairvoyant and a healer and has Kundalini. She immediately identified entities and asked the highest for healing of me. And immediately felt myself opening, felt such strong energy. In my root chakra, it opened to earth, and strong energies went through my legs into the earth. And in my solar plexus, there were energies like fire. It was a really strong, beautiful experience, and I thank God I was at the right place at the right time. And at the moment, I feel cleared and much more alive again. And I find it so interesting that I thought the Shakti regulated me, and then it was entities draining, stealing my energies. I just trusted that it was Shakti, and then it was entities. I'm not buying that at all, Manisha. I'm not buying that Shakti was not regulating you, that it was entities. And I'm not buying that that person saw the right thing either. Shakti has been regulating you. And the only entities that came upon you were the entities that you collected going out and living the life that you were living. Wasn't the Shakti was not regulating your of course she is. Of course. Absolutely. People go to these psychics and mediums and the psychic, the medium will say, well, I've had the Kundalini for many, many years, and oh my God, look, I can see something on you right there. Excuse me. Yes, that'll be $1,000 for this one session. But look at this. Oh yeah, it's on your shoulder there, and it's kind of got a long tail, and it's kind of piercing your heart chakra, like a person operating a hand water pump. And oh my gosh, it's causing you to have some difficulties with your emotions. And it's so vague and it's so obscure, and it's just, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Not to say that there are some people out there who can see it, but I'm not buying in to this particular one. The first thing that came to me was, no, this is not true. This is not true. And that's from my Kundalini, and I'm not gonna support that, Manisha. And I really, really, really would like the person to give the utmost trust in the Shakti Kundalini, the utmost trust, not in a psychic. Psychics can lie. Psychics typically are hooked up to entities themselves that cause them to lie. And I don't care if it was for free. It was only for free for the first time. First time it's for free. It reminds me of almost nothing for you, sir. Okay, it's all right. I'm just not. I'm not so interested in having people give up the seniority of their scenario with the Kundalini to somebody who doesn't really know their scenario and says that they have awakened Kundalini and says that they can do this, this, or that. Why are you buying into that? Why are you not doing this work yourself? Where is the personal responsibility? Where is the unlimited aspect of this? You've got the Kundalini, it's clear. You've got the Kundalini. Why not ask Kundalini? Why not get into a position within your own equation to have the communication with the Kundalini? And all it takes is meditation. All it takes is a level of energy and engagement, the same level for you, Manisha, that you put into dance, put into meditation. You could put into giving yourself levels of communication with the Kundalini that you have yet to achieve. We place way too much trust in those things that are outside of our process. And that includes people who say they have this and say they have that. I'm curious as to what made you trust her in the first place. I've seen you, Manisha. I know the work that you do. You're going to collect entities when you live that kind of a lifestyle. It's going to happen. Doesn't mean that they're, not all the entities are corrupting you. They may be. They may be siphoning off some of your energy. You've got 350 species of life that live within the human scalp. What are they doing for you? Well, they're probably keeping your scalp healthy, but they're also taking some of your energy as well. When you shake hands or give somebody a hug, they're taking some of your energy. So I don't know where you got this idea that entities were robbing you of the energy. Now they will. Don't get me wrong. Entities will indeed rob a person of the energy, but unless you're really, really possessed, like Vincent or some other people that have been on the program, I don't think that you need to go to a psychic that is festooned with entities to try to get rid of entities. If nothing else, you probably get more entities going into that and coming out of that than you ever had before. And I know it was free. I get that, and I accept the fact that the psychic, at least at this time, wasn't being greedy about it. But this is another area of the collision between the physical limited consciousness and the Kundalini expanded awareness, where entities show up into the picture, and entities are beginning to do this or that with an individual, showing themselves to the individual, or being heard by the individual, or being touched by the individual, or in some cases, as Manisha was feeling, I guess, depriving her of energy, but I don't see that. I don't know why people tend to look things in absolutes instead of a little here and a little there. There's a lot to be said for balance. And now I give a lot of indication and how they come to you and what they do with you, and how what the hooks are with them, and all these things. And I'm glad to do that, and I'm glad that people can hear that knowledge and apply that knowledge to their situation. But they don't need to make it any more negative than it may actually be. Sometimes it's a very benign thing. Sometimes it's a symbiosis. There are good entities too, and sometimes a good entity will be allowed by the Shakti Kundalini to come into your space to give you a specific level of training and then leave. You'll see it just one day, you'll just see it, it'll just walk away from you, and you'll be going, what the heck did I do to piss off Shakti? Because you may have thought it was Shakti the whole time. Entities can do that. There are good entities. I just got back a little while ago John of Gods, and they're the entities there, the ETs, the entities there do very, very positive work for people. There's a lot of healing that takes place. I myself, back in the year 2001 or 2000, was a recipient of a healing from John of God. I had an infected root canal that I'd been really not wanting to go to the dentist for, because at one, I couldn't afford it, and two, they wouldn't see me because I couldn't afford it. So I had enough painkillers to last me for at least a month. So I went down to John of Gods and I did the 2-week thing down there, and I didn't have to take any pain control. I saved all my pain medication. The healing took 20 seconds and it worked for 7 years. Gave me enough time to find the financial wherewithal that I needed in order to have, and at least in this case, the tooth removed. And I did that, and it was very, very. It was a win for me, and I'm very, I was very grateful to the entities down there. So there are some good entities. It's just that for the most part, I'd say at least 80% of the time, it's the negative entities that will hunt down Kundalini activated or awakened individuals. And hope I didn't get clicked off here. There we go. I in no way do I mean to impugn the girlfriend of yours, Manisha. I'm sure that she's a very loving, very kind, very sweet individual. But I would rather have you trust your Kundalini first before you trust a corporeal person. That includes me. All trust goes to Kundalini. All trust goes to sacred male, sacred female. All trust goes to that which is transforming at least one half of you into Kundalini unlimited consciousness. Forget about a corporeal teacher, unless she picks one for you. And forget about people that are saying they're psychic and they're a medium and they can do this and they can do that. And oh my gosh, it's so beautiful and it feels so good and blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's not supposed to feel good. Maybe you're supposed to struggle with it a little bit. Maybe you're supposed to struggle with it to the point where you can begin to dislodge that point of uncomfort or discomfort. Maybe it's the Shakti that you should talk to about these things rather than a girlfriend or a boyfriend or some disembodied voice coming at you from your calling itself Chrism. I always surrender to the Shakti first. I got something going on with me. I look to the Shakti first and foremost. I was given the indication that I needed to get a new pair of glasses. So I went in and got a new pair of glasses. I didn't go to the ophthalmologist and say, oh, I need to be tested to see if I need a new pair of glasses. I knew I needed a new pair of glasses. So I went in there with that knowledge and with that intention. And that's exactly what I did, to listen to grace within you. Very, very important. I'm going to bring it on over here to Her Holiness, the Celtic Queen of Unquestionable Consciousness. Centaur, what do you think of all this?
Oh, gosh, it's such a huge subject, Chrism. It's something that, I think Manisha has said there that the Kundalini is reacting strongly to what you are saying. So that affirms what you are saying for her. And I think for me, in my...
Is it saying he's a lying...
No, he's reacting positively.
He didn't say that. He said strongly.
She did.
And I got to answer Michelle here.
Michelle, yeah.
Does Kundalini send the entities to us? Yes, she does it sometimes. And if she doesn't send it, Michelle, she allows whatever shows up to give you whatever teaching of tolerance, of forgiveness, of courage, whatever entity comes into your equation is allowed by your Kundalini, not necessarily manufactured by your Kundalini, although she can do that too. And she can assume the form herself. She can assume the form herself. Think about that. She can be a snake. She can be a big cat. She can be a killer whale. She can be a ravenous monster of some sort, just to test your courage. Just to test your courage. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Well, I don't know what to say, Chrism. Ask me something. I'm just, I can't think.
Yes, Michelle, both good and bad. Especially the bad. What we call the bad is just something that we don't really understand yet because it's strange to us and it frightens us. And so, what we're calling bad right now, tomorrow may be just fine, maybe actually beautiful, maybe a friend, maybe Shakti disguising yourself as a difficult lesson. This has happened to me many, many times. So this is why I speak of it today.
Yeah. Bad can be
to,
really...
Yeah, go ahead.
Bad being the ego judgment, isn't it? And that it can be ignorance too. And later, then we realize it wasn't bad. It was a gift for us.
Manisha writes, Kundalini led me to have tea with my girlfriend, me always, and she allowed me to have this meeting too. I don't fall for the average psychic trick. Thank you, Chrism. I do love you. Well, I love you too, Manisha. But it doesn't matter really where you're getting the external information from. I would suggest you go for the internal information first. And, unless you ask the Shakti, oh gosh, when I have tea with my girlfriend, should I have her do some psychic surgery on me to extract entity corruption from my system? And then I'll feel so much nicer and so much better, and life will be good in every way, shape, and form. Unless you did that, or something of that nature, then I have a bit of a question mark around what occurred. And as I said earlier, no, that just because people say that they're awakened doesn't mean that they are. And it doesn't mean that they are the way you are. It doesn't mean that they have the ability to go inside you and extract things from you. And that's a fact. Very few people can stream Shakti. I've only met another person who can stream the awareness of Shakti. Okay. Not all gifts come to every person. And so, nothing against your girlfriend. I'm sure she's a very, very positive, beautiful, helpful individual. She didn't charge you, which is good. But I'm more talking about you rather than her. I'm talking about the desire that you think you need to be fixed by another corporeal flesh person that's proclaiming Kundalini awakened status. You are that, Manisha. You are that. You go to your Shakti if you've got an issue. And based upon where she sends you, or what she does to you, or how she communicates to you, I feel is the best recourse for whatever issue that you may be having with regards to your Kundalini awakening status. And that includes entity infection as well. And that's what I have to say about that whole scenario. Okay. And I know I see you defending your choice here. I see that, and I honor you defending your choices. All right, okay, all right. You just take it or leave it. You don't have to take what I say as factual for you. You can leave it too. And that goes for anybody here. You can leave anything that I'm saying here and just like throw it in the trash bin. But if you don't feel it applies to you, then don't listen to it. Don't allow it to corrupt how you feel your equation is. Okay? All right.
Chrism?
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a question kind of related to that, but it's taking it away from Manisha's personal story? You know, when you go to places or you meet people, let's say you're at a fair or wherever, and somebody comes up and identifies, you know, entities. Oh, you've got an entity. The fact is, or is it not, that we all have, to some degree, entities around us anyway. And when somebody says that, what happens is it opens up a fear in us, and we feel that's what happens. And then in that moment, maybe we tend to listen because we have an awareness of it within ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Just the idea of having discarded entities around us that we can't see or hear or interact with, but somebody else is, you know, saying that, oh, you've got this horrible thing on your shoulder, and it's eating away at your flesh, and oh my God, you must have, you know, that type of thing. And it begins to program a person towards fear and the desire to have things removed. Yeah,
so do we all have entities around us? I mean, and on us, and I mean, Yes, we do. We have good ones too. We have a lot of good ones, like Rosemary. Now, I'll use Rosemary, for instance. Rosemary has about 43 angels floating around her. I mean, it's like this horde, this army of angelic structures around Rosemary. And, you know, she's had this for the longest time, since I've, you know, really since maybe the first year that I started working with her and she started to really embrace her community. Well, the level of angelic structures within her and around her really, really increased exponentially. And those can be classified as an entity as well. And I know that you know, I've had experience with entities, many different experiences with entities. And I know that you as well, Centaur, have experience with entities. It's not an uncommon theme. It's not at all. But what is fairly uncommon is for somebody to come up and say, well, you know, I have the awakened Kundalini and I can extract these things from you. And first of all, what gives you permission to extract something that the divine has allowed to be in place? Yeah, that's important.
Who said that, oh, just because there's an entity there, that it needs to be taken away? Even if it's a corrupting entity. You know, it goes to the root of the whole concept of self-correction. If you're not being corrupted, how do you have anything to correct yourself from? How do you learn to self-correct? If there is not some sort of a scenario causing a correction to be needed. How do you self-correct from that if it's nothing there? You don't. So, you know, I have these entities, you know, and I'll have entities sometimes. They come and they go, and I just don't give them a lot of attention. I can feel them. It's a very crowded multiverse, really. When you look at it beyond the veil, it's not. It's hard to find privacy. And you never really do. There is some form of awareness, because just because we have the limited awareness doesn't mean everything else does. You know, we're tied into hearing, seeing, touching, tasting, and smelling. You know, we're tied into these 5 senses, these 5 worlds of sensorial input. We're tied into those. We're addicted to those. We base our reality around those features, Well, what if you don't have a body and therefore you don't need to have any of those sensorial inputs? What if you're allowed to have 5 billion sensorial inputs based upon the consciousness that is around you? It puts you in a very, very, very different place, conscious-wise. Okay. You're only limited in the body right now as you have this life form. Once you leave this body and you surrender the flesh, you're no longer limited by the flesh. And this is what, when a person dies, they have to be retaught how to be unlimited in an unlimited consciousness, because they've been living, their consciousness has been encased in a vehicle of flesh for a certain amount of time, and that programming has taken effect, and they have to be deprogrammed out of limited awareness into unlimited awareness. Now with the Kundalini people, though, it's even better. And I mean better, because you don't have to wait to die. You can have it right now. And the fact that Manisha feels these entities is an action of the expanding consciousness. It's an action of awareness that is beyond the sensorial inputs of the 5 senses. This is an amazing grace for a person to have. You can have unlimited awareness. You can have conscious infinity right now. You have semi-divinity working in you right now. All the entities are doing are taking advantage of your ignorance of the self that is being created, or I should say that is being returned to you of a divine nature. I'm not saying that people, when they come into a body, are already divine. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that when they come into the body after a certain amount of karma has been balanced, they are given the invitation into the heavenly realm, into the divine realm. And this jumps beyond those that are still sleeping, and having to have their consciousness deprogrammed. With the Kundalini, you're skipping certain levels of the astral area that have to do with preparing a person for their next life. You've lived so many lives, and you've had so much karma go under the bridge that now in many ways you're given an option, but in many ways you're not, because you're continuing the education, but you're taking it out of the astral realms and you're taking it into the divine realms, the heavenly realms. And as you were when you just started taking the flesh body and learning what it was to be a brute, or to be a kind and compassionate individual, just as you were learning what it was to live the many lives within material reality, now you're learning what it is to live the life of the divine consciousness. You're learning to live that life and to help others from that perspective. Any questions about this? Anybody on the chat room? I see Yassine Beatrice just signed in, and Rosemary's there, and David's called in, and Her Holiness, the Celtic Queen of Unquestionable Consciousness. Any questions about any of this? Well then, have you collected any questions from the groups, Amelia Centaurus?
I have, Chrism. Here we go. I'm going to scroll down because one of them is slightly related. Just 1 second now. Oh dear, I can't find it. I'll just have to go through them. Okay, so it says, it seems that and this is from the groups, it's just from a little bit that I took because it's a question I think that stands on its own. It seems that we visit familiar places in dreams repeatedly. I don't become exactly lucid in this dream, but because of it, I recalled a dream I saw many years ago where there was a repetition. Is this the astral realm, or is it a place created by our subconscious?
It's the astral. It's the astral realm. The subconscious can create certain things like fears and whatnot. But, and she didn't really put what kind of a charge is in the dream. She's just looking at familiar faces. And typically the familiar faces, and there's a difference too. You can have a familiar face in the astral where you experience a person in many other dreams, but you never have met them on the physical.
Mm.
Okay, you never meet them on the physical, but you always meet them in the dream life, and that is on the astral. Now, if you're dreaming about your boss or you're dreaming about your girlfriend or things of that nature, then this is more associated with the physical aspect, and this can also be inserted into the dream life. Certainly, if it has a bearing on the teaching of the individual.
Okay, thanks, Chrism. A question was sent to my inbox. Is it necessary to be born as human for Kundalini activation?
Yeah. It is indeed.
There's a lot of noise, Chrism. I just need to...
That was me putting my shoes on in the car without my hands.
Okay.
Telekinetic shoe insertion.
Oh, that's a great picture in my head. Okay. So the answer to that is yes. It is necessary to be born human for Kundalini activation. Are you saying that animals are not Kundalini activated?
I'm saying that to have the experience of human evolution within a divine construct through Kundalini, it's necessary to be a human. Now, Lasha and some of the other animals seem to have a very strong level of Kundalini activation because, she's a small animal, and so she has to be very aware all the time about what's going on around her, and yet she's also aware of feelings, and she's aware of attitudes. And so she may have her own level of Kundalini awareness to come to. And let's look at all the Shakti animals, the wolves, the cats of whatever size, the bears, the lions, the killer whales, the dolphins, the praying mantis, the wasp, the honeybee, the spider. All of these top-of-the-line predators are recognized as being aspects of the Shakti as shown to the individual. As shown to the individual human. So they may already be exalted particles of the Shakti Kundalini in that sense. If that makes any sense. Did that make any sense at all, anybody?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing or what I feel myself is that I'm in a process, a Kundalini activation, awakening process, whereas some of the animals that I have had in my life that I would call Kundalini animals have that exalted, have that presence of Kundalini. It doesn't mean that they're in a process like me. It's that they already have that presence within them in a way that is, I think exalted is a lovely word, or it's just present. It's not a process. Does that make sense? Yeah.
In many cases, they already have it. They're born with it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so there was another question came in, Chrism, and it was, or at least it is, this person is living in Australia at the moment for the last 2 years. They have fluoride in the water there, and he has been drinking it daily. So he's just a bit worried. I know, but he's just a bit worried it will cause trouble with the whole system in the body and cause trouble with the Kundalini. And I would love what Chrism would have to say about this, please. Thank you.
drink bottled water, brush your teeth with the bottled water that doesn't have chlorine or fluoride in it. You can shower and bathe in the fluoridated water. That won't hurt you so much, but you don't need to take it internally if you have the option. If you have the option, I would choose not to, just to protect the physical body. But if you don't have the option, this is all you got, then you're going to have to trust the Kundalini to help you with that. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, if you're drinking fluoridated water, you're going to have a really, really hard pineal gland. It's going to calcify the pineal gland, and you won't be able to do anything psychic anymore. Right?
Right, with that accent.
Yes, with that accent.
But yes, Chrism, that's well said. A lot of that's well known to be said. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not the case with Kundalini. Shakti can just ameliorate that. She can bleed the calcium or any other kind of a deposit that would endanger the pineal gland right through the liver, right into the urine, right out of the body on a constant level. Now, fluoride is one of the most toxic elements that, of course, this society puts into its water because they're stupid and ignorant, and they don't really take. I sat in on one of these meetings here in Santa Rosa, California, on whether or not to allow fluoridation of the water system, and it's a fairly environmental community around here, and there was one big booming voice in the audience. It was a dentist saying, "Oh well, with the underserved and the poor, they can't afford to brush their teeth or floss their teeth, and so if we fluoridate the water, well, therefore they won't have cavities and they won't have to come and see me so much." And everybody else is saying, "Well, what happens to the animals and the insects and the earth that is affected by copious amounts of downstream fluoride deposits within the fragile ecosystem?" Now, first of all, I don't buy that people cannot afford a toothbrush. They can afford a toothbrush. They can also afford, it's not an extravagant item to buy floss either. And Mr. Dentist making $1,000 an hour, well, maybe he can just put out a freebie of his floss and his toothbrushes like they do in jail. They give it to you free in jail. Ask me how I would know this. I will not say a word. But I hear give it to you free in jail. And so the scenario is no, fluoride is not necessary, but it is invoked and it is inflicted upon the population and the environment. But the Kundalini within the inner environment of your system has the ability to filter it out of the water if you have no other option. If you do have other options, then take them. But read what is on your bottled water. Some of these waters have a high natural fluoride content to them. There was a water called Trinity, I believe, a while back. You can't find it anymore because it had a high fluoride content, and it was a very popular water at the time. The waters that I'll suggest you can get in the United States, you can get Smart Water. That's good water that has a nice electrolytic balance. You can get Essentia water, which is my favorite one. That's a high pH water. It's got a 9.0 pH, and so it has a nice electrolyte balance within it as well. But any kind of a water that is that your Kundalini, let your Kundalini choose it for you. As you walk down the grocery store, wherever you get your water, let your Kundalini choose it for you. The water down at John of God's was really good water too. I had, there was a good experience with that. A lot of people drink that water too, instead of anything that comes through the tap. Although most of the people down there do a rain catch, and if you can do a rain catch, if you live in an area where you can catch the rain and then put the rain into water jugs, I suggest you do that as well. Over. Hello? Oh, Santara must be talking to somebody. Hello?
No, I was, but I forgot to go back in the red. Yes, we have a listener, a new listener listening there. When
Hi,
I was
listener.
a year old, fluoride came into the water system here in Ireland in 1960. And of course, I think it was only like about 10 years ago that people in Ireland started drinking bottled water. So everybody in Ireland has had the fluoride factor on their pineal gland since 1960. And there are a few people that have had,
they just might have to evolve.
Yeah, but the
Away from
Shakti
the
is in
top.
charge of that.
Remember,
Shakti
before they had the tap water in Ireland, well, they had to go out to the well and get it, right?
Yeah, or they collected it in barrels
so
straight from the sky.
They lost muscle structure within their biceps because they no longer had to haul that water to the house. They became weaker because they couldn't haul the water to the house because all they had to do was turn the knob. However, they also contributed to carpal tunnel syndrome because of the amount of wrist turning that had to occur with turning the tap water on in the house. Am I right?
Absolutely. Amen.
I mean, you could just go on and on and on. I mean, the people in Ireland will just have to evolve.
Yes. We're very behind. We're very behind.
Not really. No, I've been to Ireland, thanks to you, many, many times. And except for riding on the wrong side of the street, you guys are quite advanced. I mean, it's a beautiful country. Ireland, the Republic of Ireland is a beautiful country. Beautiful country.
It is. But I think the point being that even with that Chrism, like however many years that is, 60 years, still, the Shakti is in charge. The Shakti is the one that, dissolves any damage done to the gland, the pineal gland.
But, if you have no recourse, if you're not able to make the change yourself, say you live way out in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden you discovered your well water or your spring water has high levels of fluoride in it, you have no other option, well, there you go. Or you're just so poor, you're so down and out like I was, and you have to use the tap water because you don't have the money to buy bottled water and you have no place to store it because you're homeless. She helps. I mean, it's the same deal as when I was homeless and I didn't take a shower or bathe for over a year. And I know people are going, oh, my God. Who could stand next to him? That type of thing. I didn't smell. She didn't allow me to smell. She did not allow me to stink. She didn't allow me to become dirty. I was cleaned every night. I don't know what the process was, but I was clean every single night. And I would put myself up to the smell test to people I would work with or, people that I knew. Friends. Wouldn't make that a torture.
I'm glad you quoted.
Yeah. And I always pass with flying colors, and I attribute that solely to Shakti. And I'm not the only one that's had this happen with the Kundalini. Shakti's done this to many of the people that awaken within the Kundalini. And if you look at some of these guys down in India, sadhus, that go around and they're caked with mud and they got lice, they got all this stuff. You see them walking around, you're just kind of going, oh my God. They are also, if they're awakened with the Kundalini, she is taking care of them. She is taking care of them. The smell that usually got associated with me was kind of a cedar type of smell. I smelled like a cedar tree of some sort, and that was a consistent thing. That was a consistent thing. So yeah, she will take care of you, and that's just the external aspect. She'll take care of the internal aspects too. And one other area I want to cover here, even though it has been asked, if you came into this life with a fairly activated Kundalini, and you have intuition and you have paranormal events like I had, and you have all these some synthetic skills left over from other lifetimes, you're still going to have to go through the activated phase of this current bodily physical system that you're in, you will still have to have that first chakra activated all over again. It won't impugn the skills that you came into the life with. It will expand those skills. But you'll have the hot spine. You'll have the hot first chakra. You'll have the sore lower back, and you won't be able to lie on your back because your first chakra's on fire. You'll have that. And it'll go straight up. It'll go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, or any permutation that your Kundalini awakening equation has designed for you. That's just an aside. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay, thanks, Chrism. What insight can you speak about? What insight can anyone provide about major illness within a Kundalini awakening context?
Kundalini can clear it. Kundalini can heal it. Any kind of illness. I don't care. I've said this before on the show, as I recall. It can heal AIDS. It can heal the flesh-eating bacteria. It could even heal some of the really nasty types of viruses, such as the what's that one down in Africa that makes people bleed out of their orifices? What's that called? That one.
It's got two words that sound the same. I can't think of it, Chrism.
Yeah, it can heal the Zika virus. Ebola.
Yeah,
it can
Ebola.
Heal Ebola.
Yeah.
And it can heal the Marlboro strain of Ebola, which is supposed to be worst. It can heal all of that instantly. Does it? No, not for everyone. It might heal it for somebody and then tell them not to say anything. And of course, because it healed you of that Ebola, you're not saying anything. It doesn't heal you from everything. Geez Louise, I cannot tell you how many times I've come back from an airport, and I get sick for 3 days after Peru. I came back from Peru, and I think I had the Zika. She let me have it. She let me have some sort of a flu. My immune system required that I have some sort of an illness for 3 days, after I came back from Peru. So I got to have that. She's not going to heal you of everything, but she can heal you of death things. And you get to have your immune system programmed and trained just like everybody else. And to Atlantis Seeker, I did say that cats already have the Kundalini. What they have cat Kundalini. They don't have human Kundalini. And is all the Kundalini the same? I don't know. It could have some similarities. But, I watched Lasha jump from 0 to 5 feet without a problem. That's pretty close to flying in my opinion. She's pretty good that way. She's a little flyer. So, yeah. Is it the same Kundalini? Well, no, it's kitty cat Kundalini. Will it make them divine? Possibly. But it won't make them human divine. It makes them feline divine. And maybe there's a place where that all joins, where it all becomes one. I'm sure it is, but I don't know how far off that is. When you're into the infinite and you're looking at the interconnectedness of all things, then of course there's a oneness. The weave, the feline threads and the threads of humanity will be intertwined because they're intertwined with each other already. Over.
Can I ask a little bit more, Chrism, about illness? There's a karmic aspect to illness, but also, I hear a lot now about we bring illness on ourselves and we need to think positively and we can clear our illness. And people, there is a feeling or a thought out there that if you remain ill, you're doing something wrong, that you're not doing the right thing. Now, is that true?
You're not thinking positively enough.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
Or
that the Kundalini.
I don't buy that. Now, I think if you stay positive, generally speaking, yeah, that is an increase in the immune system response, and so if you have a fairly perpetual state of consciousness that is uplifting and happy and exuberant and not in a depressed state, then you can shield yourself from a lot of illness. But once illness comes, it's there. Hello, how are you? It's there. And when you have a fever of 104, it's hard to be positive. Not impossible, but it's hard to be positive. Do we bring illness upon ourselves? Sometimes, yeah. If we drink a lot of that fluoridated water and we just love it, and we just, oh boy, like God, yeah, you can bring some illness onto yourself, at least a weakening of the immune system. Are you a compassionate caregiver, and you try to take care of yourself and you're helping other people? Well, that is more of an expressed level of love and compassion, and that can shield you from a lot of illness that is coming your way. The Kundalini itself, as I've mentioned on this program before, can shield the person from receiving a virus or a bacteria. And as I've said before, I've felt virus and bacteria come into the body, and I've felt Kundalini just change their mind. Within the expanded awareness or expanded consciousness of Kundalini, bacteria and viruses are intelligent. They live in colonies. They help each other. Everyone has a different task. They can be communicated with. The same thing with fungi and spores. They live in colonies. They help each other. It's just not a human awareness or consciousness that they live by. And so because people judge everything from their own reference point, meaning the human consciousness, a spore's reality will not match up with the human reality. And so therefore, the spore reality, because of our hubris, becomes something less when it isn't. It isn't less. And so the Kundalini can come along, and if you have a virus or a bacteria within your system that is going to be detrimental, and she doesn't necessarily want you to have that specific detriment, she just changes its mind, changes its course of action within your system. Doesn't necessarily kill it. Hello, ahimsa. She doesn't necessarily kill it. She'll change its mind, change its objective. Over.
And the Kundalini might not take away, say, an acquired disability, because the suffering or the pain itself can be a way of assisting a person in their transformation. Would that be true?
In their karma, for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes a person is crippled or ill, not for themselves, but for the family, for those who are around them. For them to learn what it is to be of service, to be of compassionate service, or to fall into the expression of non-compassionate hurtfulness. To hurt them rather than help them. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole menu of choices that the Kundalini will make with your equation in its agenda that will, at the same time it's balancing your karma, it's teaching you very specific lessons, both good and bad. And it goes back to what we spoke of with regards to the entities. She'll allow certain entities to come in, and she'll allow other entities not to come in. They don't get to come in. But these three over here, well, they represent a specific level of education that my son, my child, Chrism, needs to learn. And so I'm going to let those in and see how he does.
Okay, thanks, Chrism.
Okay, well, good. Go ahead.
Sorry. I thought you were finished. Sorry.
Okay.
Are you finished?
Over.
Sorry.
Over.
Oh, okay. There's a question on the group, actually, that has just come up, so I'm going to read it out. It says, Laurie is listening to the radio show.
This is a sight unseen question, ladies and gentlemen. I have not seen this question, so this will be a real test. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's a question about seeing geometric symbols scrolling behind my eyes on white paper, and they are sparkling at the corners, mostly triangular shapes. At first I was terrified, thinking perhaps I was having a stroke, and then a friend told me they had read it, had something to do with Kundalini. Just wondering why this is happening. Thank you for all you do.
Interesting. How they're not asking what this is, but they're asking why is it happening. So I'll answer their question directly. It's happening because that writing needs to be received by your consciousness, and the meanings of that writing will be you will not be aware of what the meanings are, but your higher consciousness will, and that consciousness caused you to tell a certain person who knew about the Kundalini that they had read that it has something to do with the Kundalini. Now there's a level of awareness that it's like a different dimension, and in that dimension, shapes have consciousness. So a triangle would have a certain consciousness, a sphere would have another consciousness, a rectangle would have another consciousness, a hexagram would have a different consciousness, et cetera, and so forth. With the writing that they're seeing scrolling behind their head and the sparkles that are being attenuated or that are attached to it, these are very specific instructions of certain types of consciousness that the person is going to be exposed to. It's a scroll, it's scrolling, it's on white paper, and they're seeing it visually. This is an impending interaction of Kundalini with them, and they would do well to start practicing the safety. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. So moving back, there's a lot of noise. Are you still doing shoes?
Oh, sorry. I was moving my legs. You know how I do.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear it now?
Not this minute now, no.
Yeah, I have birds and stuff chirping too, just so you know.
No, it's like your mic is being hit, you know.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. If you were to choose a partner for life, will you choose someone on the same path as you, or someone spiritual as well as someone normal, and why?
I missed the first part of the question.
If you are to choose a partner for life, will you choose someone on the same path as you, or someone spiritual, or someone normal, and why? I think they mean should you.
Oh, should I? Should we? Okay. Well, geez Louise. That depends on the dynamics of the two people involved. It depends on the karma of the person who's asking the question, and it depends upon how they want to interact with life. I think I remember answering this. I hope I answered what I'm saying right now.
Yes, actually you did.
I think that with regards to choosing a partner for life, you don't really get to choose. From a Kundalini context, you don't get to choose. Kundalini chooses for you. And she will choose a partner for you, or bring you within the proximity of a partner for you that will exhibit the issues that you need to be nourished with and from, and also to allow you to have a level of learning and evolution that can come to you as well. I think the Kundalini will basically begin to arrange a life partner for the Kundalini awakened or activated individual.
Yeah. Thanks, Chrism.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. It's good to have consistency.
Yes, but sometimes you can answer questions from different perspectives. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a fairly broad question there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so somebody asked this question, and though the sweep hasn't come this way yet, I feel an increase of energy and pressure escalating quickly. I now have 2 protruding bumps on the base of my skull, one the size of an egg and another one like a ball bearing. They are not painful, but they are new. They itch a little. Now, maybe it's because I now know they're there. I'm not worried, but I'm curious if this is commonplace within a Kundalini context, he means.
Well, I will refrain from cracking the joke that came to me regarding long straws. So I won't say that.
Okay. Moving on.
Moving on. This can happen to people. If your practice is being bottled up, well, let me back up a little bit. At the base of the skull, there's an organ there called the hammer. Within a metaphysical context, it's an actual organ, energetic organ that science does not recognize. And that hammer will begin to modulate the amount of energy that's coming into the 7th chakra. And if that person is putting a lot of energy into the 7th chakra and that hammer is not allowing it in, then it's going to form those types of phenomena, back there at the base of the spine. So the person needs to really look at what level of energetics they're putting into their practice. Are they pushing too much energy through? Are they not expanding on an emotional level? Are they not expanding on a mental level? Are they not expanding on the service level, the compassionate level, the empathic level, the level where you're going out and you're giving love and you're helping people through that love of giving and helpfulness and kindness and consideration? Remember, the emotional balances are just as important as the physical balances. And you can have these fluid-filled pockets under the skin with Kundalini people. I met another Kundalini guy way back in 2002 who had, fairly large ones on his back, and I asked him, well, what do the medics tell you is going on there? Oh, they just say it's like, fluid under the skin. It's like, in other words, medical had no idea. And this does happen to Kundalini people from time to time. It happens to me from time to time, and it doesn't endanger a personality. If it keeps growing and growing and growing, it begins to form a tumor. Well, then I'm going to say, let's just drain that thing, and take care of it that way. But at this point, if it's not causing a problem, not causing pain, not too pronounced. Of course, the size of an egg is pretty big. It could also be, I hate to say it, but it could also be an ingrown hair or something that is forming like a sebaceous cyst or a boil. I know that Kundalini people also have detoxifications within the epidermis, and these can grow fairly significant. And if that's the case, then you can either go to the MD and have it drained that way, or just drain it yourself, which is what I do, and take care of it that way. And I've done this on fairly different occasions on different areas of the body as well. It doesn't harm you. It is not a health issue. It's only a health issue if you allow it to get infected. And I remember I had one boil that got infected, and boy, that was really colorful.
Okay. Moving on.
You can do some targeting practice with some of those things. Next. Oh.
Okay. Now, there was a comment about India, Chrism, in the group about somebody was commenting how that once people enter the ashrams, one second now, I don't want to read the whole lot out. Yes, that there's, people go into ashrams in India and there's a 24/7, gate and CCTV cameras, and the girls are being watched and they're not even allowed move out into nature. They're stuck behind windows. And the person is wondering, how can, when you don't have freedom, how can a person attain bliss of truth within an ashram like that? And she says there's a lot of those.
On the one hand, with the early Kundalini awakened and activated, I can understand why they'd want to keep a close eye on people. Because you don't want them wandering around in the new reality trying to interact with people that are still sleeping within the old 5 sense reality. A person could get raped, a person could get damaged, hit by a car. So that's there on the one hand. On the other hand, they can, a lot of the ashrams, not a lot, but some of the ashrams, everywhere, whether it's in India or United States or anywhere, they want to partake of your Kundalini. They want a piece of that action. And so they sequester you there in order so that you only become involved in what they're doing, what they're having you do. And, they, in some way, they try to participate in the Kundalini energetic divine that is coming through you. And the Shakti will allow this as well. Once again, Shakti is in control. And even if you were allowed to wander around the city, the Shakti would also be in control. I mean, she would steer you here, steer you there. But from their perhaps limited perspective, they don't see that. And so they may look at that as a safety feature that they want to add in to make people who are coming into the ashram that are not yet awakened or activated to feel much safer, that it's a highly controlled environment, and that they can rest assured that they will not be thrust into the teeming populations of India, unable to fend for themselves. That's the one aspect. And then, of course, the other aspect I mentioned was kind of an overly controlling, perhaps nefarious type of response, to want to have more dominance and control over the individual.
Yeah, and I suppose for the girls themselves, it would be difficult in that context, wouldn't it? Gosh, Chrism, there's a lot of noise.
Sorry, I just adjusted my screen.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It's different when I do it in the car. When I do this in the car,
of course.
It's
so it would be difficult for the girls. I mean, it could bring. It would be difficult to be, not have that freedom. I mean, there would be an element, I suppose, of refinement in that, would there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, when the picture comes into my mind, I feel that there's some nefarious things going on there in that particular case.
Okay.
But I cannot say that about all the ashrams that do hyper levels of security for the people. It's one of the complaints that I've had about the ashrams in India is that they activate you and then just let you go. Have a nice day. See you at McDonald's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's kind of the
complete opposite.
Yeah, the negative complete opposite. We're gonna, you won't be able to leave the room. You'll have to be there sitting in front of a window. That's just as bad. It's not worse.
Yeah, true. The next isn't a question, Chrism. It was a statement that was made, and that I would like if you would comment on it. It was by Kundalini Priestess. She said, until the woman gives herself to the positive masculine, she will never be in her full embodiment of divine feminine. Could you speak about that?
That's true. That's the truth. Yeah. In the physical state, we are reflections of the high spiritual state of Shakti and Shiva. Shakti is Shiva, sacred male, sacred female. We are direct reflections of the sacred male and sacred female equation. And until those two, sacred sacred genders come together in a marriage of union at the seventh chakra in the individual, the person is not going to be able to manifest the awakened state. This must occur. So the woman will have to go through sacred male in order to get there. The man will need to go through sacred feminine to get there. It's no choice. It's one of those fixed things. What do you think of that? I hear a big silence back there.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
I don't know about it.
I'm trying to gauge till you finished. It's not easy.
Sorry, my dear. Sorry. Yeah. Sometimes, a teacher comes along and the teacher has, the valence or the expression of a very specific set of the gender protocols. And so, like, say for me, I can be sacred male or sacred feminine, instantly. And so this is why I'm allowed to give Shaktipat, is because whatever that person receiving the Shaktipat requires can come through me into their equation, and they can have the Kundalini to the degree that they're able to manifest it at that time. Not everybody has that capacity. A lot of people say they do, but they don't. And the results of their Shaktipat always prove that. You've got to go through the sacred masculine. This whole world is sacred feminine. The sun and the cosmos are the sacred masculine. You've got to go through the sacred male, ladies. You've got to go through the sacred feminine, men. Got to do it. Got to appreciate that opposite gender. Then here's the deal: is that you're expressing either male or female, and that expression is the polar opposite of the other expression, the lock and the key, so to speak. The key has to fit into the lock, and the lock has to accept the key before the heavenly doors will open upon the seventh chakra of the individual. How's that for keeping it G-rated?
So to expand, a person that is celibate or a person that is not with a partner, one doesn't have to be, or does one?
I did not say anything about sexual activity.
I know that, but that's why I'm bringing it up, just for clarification, in case anybody is, No.
You can go through the sacred male, sacred female without having to have sex. You can be celibate and go through those areas.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Chrism. The next question. Any questions in the chat room there while I'm looking?
We're good.
Okay. The next question then, I think, is our last one.
Hang on, there's a little noise. I'm going to clean my screen just a second. Okay, done.
And it's actually connected back into this is the one I was looking for. It's connected back into the topic you began with, and it is, why is it that I find myself alone and lonely on this path? I feel like I don't belong to this world anymore. There's always a strange feeling I live with. I feel that I don't exist here. I get numb. I find myself somewhere in between. I know that Shakti is doing this. I spin all the time inside, and Shakti wants to rise up. Still, I don't know why. People are being driven away from me, and I find it hard to let go of them. At the same time, I feel equanimous. It's so strange. I can't pronounce it. My rebellious mind gets numb. So, as I know, everybody is walking, but still walking alone. So, yeah, that's it, Chrism, really.
What did I respond?
I don't have that in front of me. I know that Brooke actually made a lovely response to it. Will I go find that?
No, it's okay. It's part of the Kundalini scenario. You will not feel like you belong. You will not feel like you're like anybody else. You'll be alone. You'll feel alone. It's normal Kundalini activity when you're taken from the five sense reality and you're put down in the middle of the five sense reality and the divine sense reality. The divine sense reality will begin to confuse the person because the divine sense reality is the ultimate reality. But the divine sense reality is taking hold within the physical body. And so, as I said, there's a lot of collisions that occur between the divine reality and the five sense reality. And these are some of the collisions that occur. You don't know if you're coming or going. You don't know where you fit in. You don't know if you belong. You feel like you don't belong, but you know you do belong. Okay? This is all Shakti. This is normal. This is what happens inside the cocoon of transformation as the Kundalini begins to adjust the person's understandings and looking for a word here. Their understanding and their points of interaction, which is not the word I was looking for, but the reference points. That's it. It begins to change the reference points for the individual, but before those reference points are completely changed, the person feels like they don't belong on this world, and they're alone, and they don't think like other people. Other people aren't necessarily coming around them anymore. They're kind of sort of being isolated, and that has to do with the energy. That has to do with the Kundalini arranging for a person to be kind of left alone. When you're in the cocoon, you don't get to have a lot of company. Over.
Yeah, thank you, Chrism. The fractal reality that you spoke of, that is something that that's a new word for me, and I really like it. It's a good way to express what it can feel like when you're in the middle of all of that.
I suppose, but even that is limited because it's a.
I know, but it's still one word that sort of gives me a sense of what it is. I can say that now, and I know exactly what I mean. You know.
Oh, okay. And I don't see that there are any other questions happening for people here.
Okay.
If you're calling in on a telephone, you have a question, go ahead and hit a 1 or something like that, and it'll appear up on our screens here that you have a question. So feel free to ask those questions now if you like. And if there's anybody else in the chat room that has a question, then I encourage and invite you to ask your question. I apologize to Manisha for coming down, I think, a little bit hard on the whole entity thing, and you know, because I didn't mean to cause her to become so sensitive. But I am kind of, I can't say that I don't feel the way I feel with regards to people going to others to get rid of certain things that they may not need to get rid of. But that being said, you know, she went ahead and did it. She feels good, and that's the most important thing to me.
Well,
do you have any last words? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Manisha for bringing it up because I think, you know, when these things come up for me anyway, and you speak as you did, passionately, and the Kundalini in me hears that, and my understanding is that it's a great opportunity for all of us to get a teaching. So I want to thank her anyway for bringing it up, and I feel she probably learned a lot here today too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's very, very, yeah. Yeah, I can be fairly strong in these areas.
Oh, dear listener, that was mild. Andy.
Yeah. Cool.
But it's interesting because somebody's question today will be somebody else's question tomorrow. So that's why it's wonderful too when people make statements and when people ask questions. because through that archive that we have, the questions will go on, and somebody listening, this will be very important to them. I just know it will. So really, thank you, Manisha and Chrism and everyone.
Well, thank you, everyone, and Manisha and Santara and Rosemary and David and Area Code 828 and everybody in the chat room. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and ask you, Santara, if you got any last words.
No, Chrism, I don't. Thank you, everybody. And
I feel kind of like a squeezed out sponge right now. So, yeah, go ahead.
Fractal reality, it's just working for me.
This is always a difficult subject to talk about, the line of demarcation and blending between the limited reality and the unlimited reality. And this is what that last question, I think, was really referring to, is, you know, you don't get company in the cocoon, but you go through a period of transformation while still living in the body, while still working at your job, driving your car, doing the work that you need to do. You're inside of this transformation, and it's not always easy to add the dots together. And in many ways, you should just stop trying and just surrender completely. Do your very best to find the appropriate reference points for what you need to do to carry on with your life in this reality, and consider that the cocoon. Collect your reference points around you and allow those to be there without depending on them for meaning. Just depend on them for keeping you alive and fed and nurtured within this social environment. And allow the Shakti to continue to do her work on you. Don't get in the way with it. Don't try to figure it out or to fix it or to get rid of it or, to manipulate it in any way. Look at it for the grace and the gift that it is, without trying to add your ego into it. Not the easiest thing to do, but it's the best thing to do within this type of a scenario. And if there are no other questions, and it doesn't look like there are, I will go ahead and end this. Oh, wait a minute. We have a question. Here we are. Question. Hello, caller. Go ahead and end this. Oh, wait a minute. We have a question. Oh, can you come closer to the microphone? Can't hear you.
Yeah, hey, Chrism and Santara, it's Lori. Can you hear me?
Hi, Lori.
Yeah, hey, I was listening, and I just had a quick question about my daughter.
Okay.
She's recently seemed to have had a Shaktipat in a dream with a snake coming and
What happened? What did the snake do?
Struck her in the third eye, and she's having quite a few awakening symptoms, and she is, oh my goodness, she's going through quite an intense time, and I'm trying to guide her.
Hang on. How old is she, and what does she do? What does she do?
She is 28, and she's working a job where she wants to be in nature. She's working in an office job and with people who
Is she engaging in activities of a spiritual nature?
Yes, she's getting more and more into that.
What is that? What is she doing? Is she Reiki? What is it?
Well, she's changed her diet, tremendously. She grew up in a household with me where, I was a regular meditator, and she's been doing her best to meditate, be in nature.
So is that all? Is that basically what she's done? Because we're running out of time. I got to get this out.
Yeah, that's basically what she's done. But
so
she's been
indeed,
in such
indeed, the Shakti has come to her, has bit her in the third eye. She'll probably start seeing a lot of visions. She'll probably see a lot of colors, a lot of lit up colored clouds behind her eyes. typically of a purple, perhaps of a gold nature as well. She may also see some orb activity. And don't let her be afraid. If I were you, I would direct her to the KundaliniSafeties.com, www.KundaliniSafeties.com, and have her practice
Yes,
those.
I've given her those.
Yes, have her practice those.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
I know you're the mama, and I know the daughter's 28, so she's going to do what she wants to do. But those are the best way to have a safe and sane interaction with the Kundalini, certainly within a newly activated individual. Remember, the activation is one thing, the awakening is something else. Getting bit in the dream and the third eye is an indication of an activation, not an awakening yet. Okay, the activation has a level of work the person needs to go through, and then the awakening lasts for the rest of the life.
Right.
Okay, and she should stay away from caffeine. She should keep herself well hydrated with electrolytes. She may avoid meat. She may not avoid meat. Sometimes the Kundalini will make you eat as much meat as you can stand, in a certain setting. She should be very, very forgiving. Very forgiving against people that hurt the environment. Very forgiving against people that hurt animals. Very forgiving against people that hurt her or malign her or in any way or shape or form cause her to experience a form of grief. She must be absolutely forgiving. Is that clear?
Oh, that's very good advice. Just excellent advice. And I had given her the safeties, I guess, last week. So thank you
Have
for
her
that.
do the recapitulation of the safeties. Write down every day, about 5 or 6 people that have hurt you, maligned you, whatever. Don't be afraid to repeat it. Write it down and forgive them. Write it down and forgive them in writing as well. We associate our reality with what we write and what we read, and this begins to really get it into the consciousness of the individual.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Have
great.
her stay hydrated. No caffeine. No high fructose corn syrup. No
I've
hot
been concerned
spices.
about her drinking. I've asked her, if she'd
No
consider,
alcohol, no alcohol, no marijuana. No alcohol, no marijuana at all.
Yeah, I sent her one of the posts from the group about that.
Yeah, not even a glass of wine.
Okay.
Seriously.
She'll want to know what the ramifications would be of that. I sent her what you had written in the
extreme migraine within the activated state. As you know, like Amelia, she's been able to drink, alcohol.
He's so mean, Laurie.
He won't leave you alone. I'm so sorry. Chrism, you've got to stop. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it is.
That's okay. What else to do?
Guide her away from that.
Yeah, I've been asking.
When she was doing that, she was well deep inside her Kundalini, and so it gave her the lessons she needed to learn from. And I want to, Lori, I want to congratulate you on giving your daughter the safety, and congratulate you for giving her the excellent information that you obviously are giving. And I've got to say thank you and goodbye. We're down to about 60 seconds, and I'm going to go ahead and end this show the way we started. Thank you, Lori.
Okay, thank you, Chrism and Santara. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Santara. Thank
Bye.
you, David and Rosemary and everybody in the chat room. Here we go.